So I've been able to do a lot of weird shit with my tongue since I was little. Like,
Sure. Oh yeah, dude, it's around right there.
like,
What's up, you goofy goobers of the internet? Mark Ricardo Vox Academy here, and today I'm very excited because we are checking out a brand new song by A Wake In Providence. I'm very excited because, as many of you know, I just recently reacted to A Wake In Providence, and I was delighted to find that while there are definitely some differences, Adam and I are doing similar things, and you know, I had mentioned that I wanted to pick his brain, and here we are. Gonna pick his brain today because we have got him on the channel, the vocalist himself, so I'm very excited. Now, if you're new to the channel, what we do here is we take the reaction format, we break it down, we make it educational. I myself am a metal vocalist in a band called Kardashev. We released an album on Metal Blade back in June. That was pretty cool, I guess. And I'm also a full-time metal vocal coach, making sure people gurgle safely for years to come. So if you like the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Say something in the comments. Tell me I'm pretty or ugly. Either way, whatever suits you. If you really love the content, check us out on Patreon. Everything that we do on Patreon takes place in our Discord server pretty much. You can vote on videos. You can come to karaoke nights and listening parties and hang out. We had a long conversation about D&D the other day. That was a lot of fun. So I think that's all I have. Beyond that, let's go ahead and let's pull in Adam. Here we go. All right, buddy. Now that you have come in with absolutely no visible hard cut whatsoever, how you doing? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How's it going?
Dude, it's good. It's been a long day. I'm a little sleepy because well, I'll be honest. I was up too late looking at Magic the Gathering decks and getting my deck build on. So it's my own dang fault. But I'm excited to have you here. I appreciate you taking some time. So yeah, thanks very much, my dude. Definitely looking forward to this song. Now, most of the time, the guests on the channel don't give me any context. But I want to ask you, do I get any context for We Are Eternity, or are you making me go in blind?
No, like I don't think I have anything to tell you. I mean, I'll let it speak for itself. Yeah, let's do it.
Dang, I'll let it speak for itself. Okay, hell yeah, I dig the confidence there. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and do it. Let's just go ahead and jump in. Why waste time? So let's go ahead and let's check out A Wake In Providence, We Are Eternity. Here we go. All right, I'm already going to pause it right there because I already have like 5 different super cool things that I want to talk about. So first and foremost, obviously there's a lot of cool stuff happening, but my favorite thing that's happening is that really nice slide from like a high vocal all the way down to like sort of a mid-low. That's a tough thing to do for a lot of people. And I know for me, it was kind of difficult as well. And that was like a goal I really had back in the day. Is that something that and this is actually kind of become a standard question of mine because I'm always interested in your experience. Is that something that was difficult for you, or as you learned vocals, was it just like high to low, no problem? Talk to me about that.
So are we talking about the lows you hear right when the song starts, or are we talking about like the ones that just came in?
So there's a section where you actually slide from a high to a low, all in one vocal take, all in one breath. And I heard that and I was like, oh, that is smooth. That is like super, super, super buttery.
Okay.
That motion, yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird because it didn't take me long, to be honest. Like I do a lot of hopping up and down
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to mids. So that higher registry is already a little open.
Mm.
Um, as far as switching down or writing that high downward, it's easy because it's the same technique for
Mm.
both of them. Um, it's it's definitely not something that's super easy just because my highs are so compressed, but in a different way. Like,
Sure.
yeah, yeah. I'll save more information for other questions. I don't
No,
want to go on a tangent.
look, this is your time. If the analytics have told us anything, people enjoy tangents when we do these co-reactions. So feel free to go crazy. And yeah, that's a pretty common and pretty good way to kind of bridge from that like if you're going from a high to a low, or I'm sorry, a high to like a lower mid, or a low to like a higher mid, just make the mid and the high, or the mid and the low basically the same technique that you would use normally. This is actually a pretty good time, because I know people are going to be curious to talk about your high vocals, if you'd like to. So to me, and I've heard differing things in various chats and stuff. To me, your high vocals sound super fry focused, right? What is it? Well, first of all, what's your take on that? And second of all, what does it feel like when you do one of your high vocals? Kind of talk to me about the way that you approach that sound and what it feels like to make that sound in your vocal anatomy there.
Okay, so highs was like, you know, I know most people just start up with like the basic asking Alexandria, false chord, open, low, you
Uh huh.
know, uh, depressed day, low.
Mm.
Um, but for me, um, my friend Michael, just when I was like 14, he was like, we listened to a Devil Wears Prada song.
Mm.
Maybe it wasn't a Mere song. It was a song with raspy highs. And he was like, you know how to do that? And obviously I was like, well, no. He's like, okay, go. And I was like, okay. And I did it. And then he's like, now do it like you're taking a big poop. And I was like, okay. And then just, yeah, came out like a
Sure.
really, beginner stage, just, you know, that's it. Just keep doing that and you'll have
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, and then so highs came to me first.
Mm.
I was listening to a lot of Amir, and I never really got super low with those false chords. Like now I can, because I sort of learned my lows in a weird way.
Mm.
Um, I was basically just told you can't do Whitechapel lows with like that technique, because the person who was with me um, used the death growl technique
Mm.
to
Mm.
get really low.
Sure.
And that's when I just started to learn about the fries, the false chords. And then it would get really frustrating growing up because people only thought there were fries and false chords, and then I'm this kid over here for my lows doing neither.
Yeah.
And like no one gets it, no one understands it. I've tried to talk to other vocalists about it everywhere. No one can really like do like they'll get the beginning stages down, but after that, it's always either like I'm getting a headache or I'm feeling nauseous, or
Nauseous.
but it was just sort of no matter who I was teaching. Very capable vocalists. It's just like I feel like people just like I don't know. It's just weird because it sort of puts you on this island, and like you
Mm.
were saying, I'm sure you feel the same way sometimes. It's like basically like it feels really lonely because I know to an extent I am with one part of my voice when I listen to such and such artists. I know for a fact we're doing almost the same exact thing, or that,
Mm,
it feels similar. But when it comes to the lows, it's very apparent that it's their mid or higher vocal that's becoming lower.
yep.
And it never really sounds like, oh, he's switched on to something else. And it became frustrating because it's like I could never truly be able to listen to someone and be like, man, I bet he gets it. Or like, I don't know. To me, when I do my low technique, like false chords, for the most part, like regular false chords just feel like breathing.
Yep.
And then when it comes to those lows, it feels like I gotta like a just feels like if you could tie weights to your vocal cords, like it feels like I'm powerlifting vocals.
Okay.
Like that's honestly how it feels.
Okay.
And sometimes it's frustrating because it's like, damn, I don't think this is not as like hard for other people, but like that's sort of the challenge of it
Mm,
for me, is like I want to be that person who can switch back and forth, like with two totally different techniques. And it's hard. It's really hard. Like I got to practice the whole album for like 4 months just to sort of create those pathways, in which that I'm going to be, as far as live goes, like traveling.
sure.
Because there's like so many different layers, so many different variations of what I could do live. And yeah, it's just challenging, and I think that if I didn't use that technique, it'd be really boring to me.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And I think I also can totally relate to like the difficulty in having conversations with other people about vocals, because obviously we've gotten to a place where we do a lot of these videos where we pull guests on, and the way that we experience our vocals is very baked into the way that we experience our bodies, right? And so I can talk to someone and I can say, where do you feel the distortion? But that person, when they think that what they think they're paying attention to as distortion is actually resonance. It's just resonance. It's just the airwaves moving around. So they'll be like, my distortion's being created here. Well, I know
Mhm.
anatomically that's not possible, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not possible. Or they'll do like a high vocal, and they'll say, I'll say, what does the distortion feel like? And they'll be like, oh, I don't feel any distortion, right? And that's because what they think that distortion only exists here versus here. So it can be difficult to bridge those gaps because there's not like a textbook for this stuff. And then you've also got your microcosms, like the screaming subreddit might use this term, but then if you go over to like this forum, they might use this term. So it can be kind of tricky, which is really one of the main reasons I love these videos that we pull in guests, because like I can find out the way that they relate to their voice and then try to like translate it a little bit into a way that I understand. Let's do this. Let's get a little bit more song under our belts, because we probably should listen to it, because so far the first 38 seconds are pretty dope, right? You know what I mean? And then I think
Yeah.
I might like kind of poke and prod and pick at your techniques like one at a time, because
Yeah.
one thing you mentioned, and I'm with you here, is that a lot of people kind of put metal vocals, it's either only false chord or only fry, but so often things are combined and mixed and balanced in different ways. So we'll kind of do that, but let's keep going. Let's keep going here. We'll give it a good chunk of time. Here we go. All right, that's a good place for us to chill for a second. Let's talk about your highs, because you're doing a ton of highs there. So let's really kind of like take the lens and vroom, get really granular on your high vocals. So there are a couple things that I'm hearing that are really interesting, and part of the reason why, to my ear, right, I've been wrong before, it happens, where I'm hearing that there's a lot more fry influence probably then like straight up false chord, because like, and I'll be real, this would be a whole video, but I have kind of qualms with the term like false chord high anyway. That's just me. We won't go down that road. It always gets people a little spicy with me. But I hear a lot of vocal fold together, like pop rock sound, like a sort of like pop rocks or like Rice Krispies, and oftentimes that
Yeah.
sound is associated with like a fry. Now, what you did before, which is interesting, that was definitely like a false chord, like a ma ba ba that range in there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. As we move things up, I know that for me, like with my lows, right, I was here, and then as I tried to get lower, I started shifting to new distortion mechanisms, right? And so the distortion changes. Do you feel that as you lift into like your, because your highs they are up there, my dude. When you shift into those really high highs, does the distortion seem to shift as well? Because it sounds like it does. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I'll basically just give you a rundown on like the progression of how I did that. So like I said earlier, I had very like raspy highs, and then I was in a band that sort of the vocalist before me set the par, and I was 16, and I had to figure out how to get higher really quick,
Yeah.
and if I was going to stay in this band. And so I just started trying to get high, and not in that way, but yeah. I remember I got it one day. I remember the day I got it too, because I used to call them breaking barriers.
Hmm.
Me and like my best friend, who was also a vocalist, that's what we called it. If you could hit a new lower registry or hit a higher high, we called it breaking barriers. So I was in my living room, and I just kept looking up and thinking up, and it might not be what people would consider like the healthiest way to get your voice higher, but basically this is how it went.
Okay.
Wah, 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 wah.
Boom. There it was. Bah. There was the flip. Yeah, that's kind of cool. What's the difference? That's neat. That's neat. This is the stuff that just tickles my brain. So, talk to me about the sensation, the physical sensation of distortion, as much as is comfortable, right? Right before you break that barrier. Right before you break that barrier. Talk to me about what the distortion feels like at that point. Does it feel very rough and tangible? Does it feel very light? Any way that you would express it?
So uh,
It's hard to describe. It's so hard to. Sometimes
there
people will ask me like, "What does that feel like?" And I'm like, So I know I'm asking you kind of a tough question. So I apologize.
so the way I've always described it is basically when you're doing just that raspy like high, obviously you feel that flap, like that flap happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pay attention, in between that flapping is like that air.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can hit that air, then the high will just go with it.
Okay.
So it's hard to explain, but the way that I was able to start making it stay, and you'll see Alex Kohler do this, and I know Alex Kohler like heavily fries his highs. I mean, it's really apparent. Um, but that's what he does. That's not why I started doing it, but
Sure.
he tucks his chin in almost a little too much. Instead of tucking my chin in, I'm pushing my jaw back.
Okay.
So it's like I'm like shoving it to here.
Okay.
And with that, like in the past, I really liked modeling it after Ian Bearer. I think Ian Bearer is probably the greatest vocalist to ever step foot on this earth.
Whoa,
Um,
that's high praise. All right, Ian, if you see this, you heard
I'm
it
being
here.
serious, just straight up. Like, I don't think people understand like how depressing it is that that man is not doing vocals anymore. Like, what you think about like, sorry if I can't curse, my bad.
We'll just put a
Um,
little duck over it or something.
all right,
We'll leave it. It doesn't matter.
all right. But and if you don't think that, I'm sorry. Um, but you're wrong. And you should go listen to La La Soul again and
Mm,
try and tell me that's not the most aggressive performance on a record you've ever heard. Like that, but I could also argue that with Hellbound by Fit for an Autopsy. Like
yeah,
that record's pissed as shit.
yeah.
Um, sorry, I cursed again, man.
It's
But
okay. It's all right. No,
okay.
no, I'm with you. I think Ian Bear is pretty. And when I found out he wasn't going to be involved in Rings of Saturn anymore, I was like, that is a shame because I think he's
I know.
phenomenal. I think he's phenomenal. Man, if I had to pick like a 100% favorite metal vocalist, it would be Travis Ryan from Cattle Decap. But like,
No doubt. He's amazing.
that's if I had to pick a favorite. But in reality,
He's someone
like, it's
sorry.
so many. No, you're
He's
good,
one
man.
of the only people that I know for a fact we're doing like the same thing just because of how, like you said in the video of Horror, how he's basically just doing this. Like,
Yeah.
and that's how I knew. I was like, he's doing it. He's doing it.
Yep. That's the same way. And that's why I was so excited to do that last video, because for me, when I do my lows, and depending on the student, the way that I teach them, it's right.
Yeah.
Now, the differences in sound past there will be because of the shape of our heads and the different sizes of all the bits, but it's this, right. Yeah, so
I got
you know what I mean. You know what
I'm
saying.
sorry, bro. I got one more thing. That's why I started talking about the Ian Bear thing. I used to do my highs like a lot like him, just up, just straight, just powering through it. Like, yo, I hear this and what? But on the new stuff, I really wanted to get away. Like a real big inspiration for me, not the specific sound, but just what he did when Alex Culler broke his jaw or whatever happened, crawled into another dimension and came out the other side. I don't know. But when he did My Damnation, I remember I had only heard Desolation of Eden, but my friend was like, it sounds like a woman dying when he screams his highs. And I was like, what? No way. And then I put that record on and I hear his highs and I'm like, it does sound like, you know, someone screaming bloody murder, basically. So I really admired that he just came out of nowhere with this new style. And I wasn't trying to switch anything up differently, but I just didn't want to put highs that everyone is doing. Everyone usually when they're doing highs just stays up there. It doesn't really experiment with mouth shapes for highs. And I feel like highs are really discredited, especially like right now. Everyone's about lows. So I wanted to do different highs basically. So
yeah.
instead of pointing upward, I thought, what if I point outward? What if I think out instead of up? And that's how we got through the trying time. Like instead of through the trying time. You know, it's out more than it is up. And I liked that while we were recording it, we called it the witchy highs.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do tilting your resonance. So I'm thinking about my camera angle, tilting your resonance. Like sometimes I'll think directly out of the top of my head. I don't really use them a whole lot because the band I'm in has no room for that sound, to be honest with
Okay.
you. No room for that sound. So I keep most of my highs. Most of my highs are kind of like a little bit lower. You know, they're
Hmm.
more in like this, like right. But
Yeah.
in the one little black metal project we did, I thought straight, and that's mostly out and very loose, but I can totally hear that difference. I can totally hear that difference thinking forward. And those subtle resonance changes can be a big help. Let's keep that in mind. Let's play a little bit more, then we can pick apart your lows. But actually, I am planning to talk to you about mouth shapes and the way that you're sort of chewing on the vocals later on. So let's keep going. And
Yeah.
actually, I'm gonna go back a little bit just because we had a cool change, and I think changes are some of the coolest parts of a song, and I don't want people to miss out on that. So let's go here. All right, here we go. All right, I need everybody on YouTube to shut up for a second and just listen to how sick that was. So if you're like that, like low to a high to that like slower paced metering that you were using, like you gotta never do that again because it's making us all look bad. That was sick. I want to listen to that real quick. That was so cool. Yeah, like I know I said I wanted to pick apart your lows, but now I'm interested how you come up with your patterns, because that is not what I feel like 90% of other vocalists would do. And I think that that's a big part of being a vocalist past the tone is how do I dance around this song? And going from the more quickly, like the quick to ba da 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 ga da ga ga, that was just so cool. Like, so talk to me about your writing process. Like when you get this song, well, first of all, do you get the song and then write the lyrics? Do you write the lyrics along with all the other bandmates? And how do you decide on what kind of patterns you want to use? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I don't really write anything until I get into the studio with DeAndre, just because we're really good at feeding off of each other. So if I have like a blueprint, we will record that blueprint and then we'll go back and go, okay, what's sounding a little, regular here? What's something we can do to fill this space? As far as like patterns go, the first thing for me is, will I need to do something that is possible but sounds impossible?
Okay.
And then as far as like that part goes, because I know for like a lot of people, I'm doing all that on just one go, like one breath. There's no anything in between the ings. I know there's a lot of ings in that line. But there's that, and then I don't know. I feel like my patterns are a little different than a lot of other people's just because I grew up in choir my whole life.
Yeah, okay.
So I feel like when I start writing a song or when I'm patterning things out, I do it a little differently, not because I'm necessarily choosing to, but because I'm just following what's been instilled in my mind, whether I'm actually singing it or whether I'm screaming. But I find that lyrics, also play a big part in your patterning. Like, it's very apparent if something is going to work or not. So for me, like, there will be a lot of things that I want to do, but once you start writing the words down, you're like, no combination of words is going to let you like do those noises that you want to do.
I've been
So
there.
that's
Yep.
that's what I sort of mean by like sounding impossible but possible.
Mm.
Like there's just a lot of different mouth shapes. I don't know. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I just try as best as I can, and then we go from there. But definitely uh like I was saying, me and DeAndre sort of feed off of each other. So I'll start the idea of this thing, and then if it's, perfect, then it's perfect. But we'll always sort of look at it from every corner before we say, yes, that's definitely what we want to do. There's probably like two different versions of vocals for this album.
Mm, interesting. Release those as B sides, like no, like
No.
album version,
There's
album
a
version two.
reason. There's a reason those ones aren't being released.
Oh, let me tell you, we have a folder of all of well, maybe not all, but many of my botched takes where I go to sing and I'm like, ah! All right, let's just do that again. You know what I mean? I know what you mean. Here's an interesting thought. This is something that I find myself doing, and now I'm just kind of curious if you do it. So I didn't like spend like a lot of time. I was in a choir. I was in like my high school choir for like 2 or 3 years. I think closer to 2, and I was doing it less because I had a passion for it and more because I didn't want to do band and you had to pick one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So but one thing I learned in choir that did stick with me, right? Because like, I paid a little bit of attention, a little bit, is how when you're singing in a choir, you can't just think about your own voice. You have to think about the voices next to you. You have to think about the way that you're pronouncing things. And some vowels just don't work because they're gonna muddy up the whole thing. And like some consonants, like you don't want to actually hit too hard. Others you want to hit harder. And I find myself sometimes when I'm writing vocals kind of thinking in that same perspective, but I'm thinking about the voicing of the instruments, like, depending on the guitar tone that's being used, or depending on like how much cymbal work we have going on, like, am I going to muddy the waters? And if I am, how can I interplay where it won't be like just a jumbled mess? Do you ever feel yourself kind of in that mindset or not so much?
Um, yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating when things that like you can hear in your head for some reason aren't really translating.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, yeah, sometimes I'll just delete everything and just like try and restart because a topic also, like if you change what you're writing about, I find it'll like open up new doorways to different vocal patterns and stuff because
Mm,
you just have a different feeling for the song, a different vibe that you're trying to give.
yeah,
So like you could, if you want something to sound more like, I don't know, chanty and more so just like a lot of ad libbing, you can do that, or you could just, you know, uh, create just a really good, just center line and lyric just all by itself that'll really encapsulate someone. But
sure.
I find that if you just try and approach something from a different um, perspective, it might even come easier.
Mm. Yeah, I've never changed topic halfway through a song. I think that would give me an aneurysm because I am a fickle lyric writer. I like my environment has to be perfect and I have to be in the right mindset. It's kind of like ridiculous. I'm like a weak little wallflower because one like little thing is off and I can't write. I can't write today. I can't write today. But like yeah, like I can't write lyrics with other people in the room. Can't do it. I can't write vocal patterns. I can't like unless I'm like in the studio and we realize like okay that section's a little too empty. We need something to just throw in there. Unless it's like that, like somebody will be like, oh, let's hang out and you can write lyrics. I'm like, no, we can't.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why. It's just a thing. But let's listen to a little bit more and then we'll talk about the lows because that's one of the things I'm most excited to talk about. Here
All
we
right.
go. I know I'm pausing again, but I just want to give a quick shout out. Your that was your bassist doing the singing, right?
No, that's our guitarist,
Your
DeAndre.
guitarist,
Yeah, that's the one I
DeAndre.
write with.
I thought he was holding a bass because I'm an idiot.
It's okay, dude.
Great, great voice. Really solid voice. And was that you layering the screams in with him?
Yeah.
That sounded sick. I did not expect that. I'll be
Wait,
honest with you.
it might be me. He definitely does some harsh vocals on this, specifically like on one song on this album. But to be honest, like whenever they're in the background like that, if it's just a general like mid or low, sometimes I just can't even tell. Sometimes I'll be like, yeah, that was me. That was me.
Dude.
Yeah. Which is probably what I just did.
Sorry, DeAndre. You know, that's kind of the thing. Like with the many vocal layers that you get in deathcore, is like it sounds awesome, but sometimes when all the layers are put together, because they become almost an ambient effect, you're like, and that's there are times when like I actually won't react to a song because like I've heard it before already. That's redundant. And it's just so many vocal layers. I'm like, it's like, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. You know what I mean? But anyways, yeah, that was sick. So DeAndre, great job. Let's go back because I can tell something's going to happen. Yeah, that was cool. That was neat. All right, here we go. Okay, so that was clearly a good spot for us to think about lows. I know that we kind of paused it in like the middle of things, but like from the sound of the song, we're gonna have a lot of momentum for a while. So there just might not be a good time to pause, but that's clearly a great place for us to talk about lows. So let's talk about lows. Let's really get into it, because this is a very difficult thing to translate, and with my students, it's a very difficult thing sometimes to teach. And I usually wait until they have like that more relaxed until they have that down first. Because if starting there, it's a mess. So talk to me about this low. What does it feel like to you? What does approaching it feel like? Just give me all the details, man.
This low, approaching it. So earlier I talked about how I, wasn't able to hit a lower register with regular traditional false chords. So I knew my best friend knew this technique, and one day I was just like, I tried to learn it before, couldn't do it, just sort of gave up on it. Mm-hmm. And then one day I just had enough, and I was like, dude, fuck it, just teach me the technique. It's like, you want to learn it? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, if I'm teaching you this time, you're doing it until you get it. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And basically the way he taught me was, it didn't click with me until he told me to sing, what is it? I got fields of green. That song.
Yeah.
The noise I was supposed to be making didn't really click with me until I heard that. And he's like, you're just going to do that. Just do that for a while until your voice gets comfortable with it. So and soon enough, I would constantly forget how to do it, like with my throat constantly. Mm-hmm. And so I had to have him there the whole time to be like, nope, you're off, go back on, and just readjust me. And then I ended up getting it. But just to sort of give people an idea, like if you've seen my really old vocal tutorials, then you sort of get the gist. But
Yeah. Yeah.
uh and I feel so bad because so many people asked for high tutorials after that, and I just was like, I don't want to do tutorials anymore. This is too controversial. Um
I
but
know.
yeah,
Trust me, I know.
yeah. So I had so many people angry at me, bro. So and I'd go to their channel and it'd be some dude like just it would be like it would be like deathcore is the disease of metal. And it'd be like, oh my god, dude, this is
Dude.
why. These are the people I have okay, I get
Oh,
it.
I know. I know.
Um
Like, I'll tell you some funny stories about it sometime. But yeah,
yeah.
I get a
uh,
lot of vocal challenges.
yeah.
Tons of
Yeah.
those.
I've had quite a few of those. But yeah, it's basically I know so like I know a lot of people um it's really easy to confuse like the bass noise, like how a lot of people are doing that Alex Terrible technique where it's just sort of like um and you just sort of hit that it's like that Mongolian throat singing
Mm-hmm.
technique, and then you just sort of I don't know, launch it. I've only ever been able to do it about like 3 times because I wanted to see what it felt like, but
Yeah.
immediately after it was like, but I'm not going to keep doing it this way. It was just like I
Sure.
just want to see what it's like. And I can understand because they're so similar. Um like if you take the if you take the and then you take the Mongolian throat singing one, which is the they're really similar and
Mm-hmm.
they feel really similar, but it's just harder to to me it's just a little harder to do um the ones that I naturally do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just that
Mm. Dude, that's the exact same way I do it. I love it. It's the
yeah,
right.
man.
And the cool thing about it is you can do a lot with that. So that sound, it's your arytenoids and your epiglottis to a degree. Like it can kind of depend, just based on the laryngoscopies I've seen, mine and other people's as well. Like this is independent to a degree from the distortion mechanisms below it, which would be the false folds. And then if you're doing a little bit of fry, you can mix a little bit of fry in there as well, so you can get like a really open like sound that has a little bit more of that false chordy.
I've noticed.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and I've noticed like specifically that like the falsetto that comes with the fry, like that, just that squeak, that higher register sound.
Yeah.
It'll be like deep behind everything. Like I don't know if I can do it. Like it's like that, but all the way in the back. Like it's so far behind everything you can't even notice it. I don't know. It's weird.
I'm wondering if what you're hearing is overtones.
Might be.
Yeah, I'm wondering if what you're hearing is overtones, because if and it, you remember how you said people got controversy. So this is something I say that sometimes it gets people a little bit spicy. Generally speaking, even though it sounds awesome, generally speaking, if we are doing like a wheezy falsetto,
Yeah.
along with our distortion, we're dancing a dangerous dance.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there have been I think John Mayer was one of them, but essentially his singing technique, which sounded really good, which is why we can't always rely on sound to tell us if a vocal is healthy or not. Oftentimes we can, but we can't always, because he had that really breathy, kind of like sexy sort of like singing, and the over breathiness and the way that it caused his vocal folds to meet incorrectly. I think it was John Mayer. Might have been somebody else. I'm not really plugged into that realm of music as much. Caused him to get some vocal damage over time. So that's why sometimes when people are like, the falsetto can be very useful for finding placement, but generally speaking, I tend to shy people away from it. So, and if you were doing that for as long as you've been doing vocals, I anticipate, I'm not a doctor, so I can't, say yes for sure, but I anticipate that your voice wouldn't be feeling too good today. So I'm wondering if what you're hearing is overtones that are kind of being created by your tongue placement, because
Is
I'm no overtone singer, but you can get those like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So maybe
yeah.
that's a little bit of what's going on.
It's definitely. I don't think it's something that's there. I just noticed that like there'll be like a little bit of like a trail sometimes with it, specifically just when I'm doing like the more open technique with the one that we have in common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to me it sounds a lot like I don't know, it's just like I do it a lot on this album, but it's just open, but like
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the Horror of the Old Gods, glory ferociously died for. Like basically I'm not putting my tongue to the roof of my mouth anymore.
Yeah, I don't hear you doing that at all.
Yeah, and it just comes out like that, and it's cool. Like I can get lower with that, but I just prefer the oing, 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 you know.
Yeah.
It's
You know what this means? Oh,
it
go ahead. I'm
just
sorry.
feels cooler.
Yeah. You know what this means? This means
Hmm.
that the charismatic voice has got to put a scope down your nose next. They got to
Oh,
take
shit.
they got to take you to the voice lab and see what's going on there. Yeah. So in that example, I didn't hear any of that.
No, it's usually like after a full day, like a full day of recording or a set or practicing, it'll just bleed through a little.
Yeah, that's probably fatigue then. That's probably what you're
Yeah.
running into is fatigue. But anyways, let's keep going. Let's keep going because the song's dope, and I guess we should listen to it, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. All right, here we go. Yeah, you're all about those mouth shapes, bro. You are all about those mouth shapes, and I think we heard a DeAndre scream there because it sounded a little bit different for you in the video. He kind of like and it sounded sick.
No, that actually, those ones actually are all me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we thought that like in the video, as we had to at least acknowledge that those background vocals were happening, because like it's such a big part of the atmosphere of the breakdown and everything. It would just feel a little weird if there wasn't at least someone mouthing that,
Right.
because I feel like it would just go a little unnoticed. But no, yeah, those are all me. I'm just doing my regular mids.
All sorts of. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue, please.
It might just be like a contrast thing, but no,
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to say. You go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it could be just contrasting. So, yeah, you're doing one of my favorite things that people. So you were talking about how a lot of people tend to do like one static high, and I agree with you there. But I also think one thing that a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people don't do is like really like getting very exaggerative with their mouth shapes. One of my favorite things are what I call, well, not just me, lots of people call like chewy highs. Like it sounds like as the high is leaving your face, you're sort of like like chewing on it, And I think it just creates such an awesome, sinister, disgusting sound that I absolutely love. And I can also hear your vocal track, like it's like if this is like the back of, well, I can't, my hands don't go that way, but like if this is the back of your mouth here, right, and this is the front where your teeth are, I can hear it opening up and also narrowing, opening up and narrowing. So
Yeah.
you're smushing the sound and then opening it sometimes back and forth within one word, and it just creates, I think, a little bit more, because like, listen, my career is based on metal vocals, both with my band and with this and giving lessons. So clearly I love metal vocals, but it is a very maximal style that sometimes when you don't have any variation, you're like 3 minutes into your second song and you're like, Jesus Christ, I'm bored as shit. And so when we get like good variation like this, especially during breakdowns, I think it really helps the breakdown work, right? So talk to me about, I don't know, like I don't have any specific question, but and in the low, I heard one like just simple like right, where you really created like a lot of like resonant space. So like I said, I don't have any like specific questions, but like just talk to me about your mouth shapes. Do you just walk around making cool mouth shapes? I do. I know a lot of people do, but talk to me about it.
Yeah. So like you were saying earlier, how it's very like versatile technique, how you can just do a lot of different things. There's like so many different styles of low that I can do with that. But yeah, there's like, I think, there's the Mitch Lucker sort of like just ooh, and then now I'll just show like a couple.
Sure. Go for it, man.
Yeah. So just basic regular low. And then we're gonna extend our jaw forward so that we can get then there's like sort of like what Tom does in that new Chelsea Grin song. And,
Okay.
also sort of like what Devin from Worm Shepherd does. Just the
Yeah.
my cloud is full of like
Yeah.
and I mean, and then as far as just like the vocal, the lows that you hear on that breakdown after that like first release after God, that's I basically what the technique that most people do for tunnels. For me, like it doesn't create a super tunnely noise. It just sort of creates like this dead tone in a way.
Okay.
Just like the blood of God. So it's just like what you would do for a tunnel vocal, but with this technique, it doesn't really tunnel it. It just sort of like makes it wider. And with the regular low technique, how I shift my jaw forward, same exact thing for this.
Yeah.
It's just a different, opening. One is being blocked by my tongue, regular low, and then the other one is just
So, I've found the same thing with like if I do that, there's not, it doesn't create like a lot of tunnel effect, but what it gives is honestly like, so when I articulate it has like this, and when you mix that along with the vocal, it sounds really, really cool. There are two that I really like to use. I could show them to you if you want. They're similar to what you're doing. So two of my favorites, which again I just do for fun, because listen, Kardashev is not like super brutal and disgusting, so there's not really like a lot of room for it.
Yeah.
But I do the jaw forward too, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll curl my tongue and I'll just lay it on my bottom lip, and it has this like really vomity sound. It's very like, and it's hard to articulate, but it has like literally like it's got a really good vomity sound. And then another one I turn my tongue kind of sideways and I talk out of the side of my mouth. I go, and that has like it really takes the distortion and it cleans it up. Like, and it can kind of sound cool, and I just do those for fun.
It's funny you say that, dude, because the my mid technique, that power mid type deal, that's what I'm doing. In fact,
really?
like, yeah, like sometimes I bite the shit out of my tongue and my lips because I'm so used to just the side of this jaw, the muscles on this side are so much stronger than this. And it's just simply because of how I've been just like pushing it. And like for the mid, I'll take the so I'll put my tongue to the side like how you're doing it, shift my jaw all the way to this side, and for my mids it's like it feels like they're all just coming from here.
Yeah, like channeling up one side of your throat versus dude, I totally know what you mean. I totally know. I've never done that with a mid, but I get that on some of those lows sometimes. That's really interesting. I've also never done like everybody watching the video now is I'm ruining the illusion because here I'm looking at the camera, but you're actually over here. It looked like you were like tongue one way, jaw another. Is that what I saw properly, or is it tongue and jaw both ways or same way?
So I've been able to do a lot of weird shit with my tongue since I was little. Like
sure. Oh yeah, dude, me too. I'm right there.
So I've just been able to just like move my tongue weird. And I was trying to figure out how to do like an I Declare War type mid, really powerful, but my mids just sounded like We Came as Romans, and I was getting really angry about it. And you know, I can't even really tell you why I stuck my tongue the way that I did, or why I started pushing my jaw to the side. It was just sort of like made sense one day, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. You ever roll up your tongue in your teeth? That's how, if I'm gonna tunnel, which I do have some room for tunneling in Kardashev a little bit, but a lot of times when I do my tunnels, what I'll do is I don't actually stick here. I do that, but I curl up in my teeth like this.
Yeah.
And I find that creates a really cool channel. And then I even pull out my cheeks a little bit. So it's like this. And it gets like this really like gross, gnarly sound. That's a lot of fun. The tongue curled up kind of channels everything in a beam. And then this catches a little bit of resonance. That's a lot of fun. We're just kind of nerding. Echo. Yeah, we're just kind of nerding out about tongue shapes and mouth shapes.
It's all good.
It's not shit. That's what we're here to do, man. But that's really cool. And I really hear a lot of that in this song. I really hear a lot of, you know, and dude, that's the cool thing about screaming and why, like, as much as I do clean singing and I work to make it good, like I'll always consider myself a screamer first, because like with singing, like it's like the timbre can be wrong, you can be flat, you can be sharp. You know, is your voice do you have too much weight in your voice for what the song is requiring? And that's all really cool, and why singing is super admirable. With metal vocals though, it's like, does it sound cool? Are you safe? Do whatever. Like, do whatever. As long as it sounds cool and you're safe, do whatever you want. And that's what creates cool moments where you're just like, I don't know, whoa, and you see what happens. And it sounds sick. Let's keep going here because there's a lot of cool stuff. I also want to take us back a little bit as well, because it seemed like there was a cool, maybe right around here. I don't know. I'm just clicking. Here we go. Nice. I loved how on the end you say feel.
Yeah.
You get that like really tight, like that was really cool. One thing, this is more just like song composition, and like I really don't have a lot intelligent to say about song composition. I just sometimes call it out if I think it's cool. But like DeAndre is saying, I think he's singing, he says, the rod is all I feel, or something like that. And then the song like cuts and kind of drops out a little bit. And like I did not expect that. I expected it to go like crazy. And then that drop, it was really cool. And I was like, I did not expect that. But yeah, like a lot of cool groovy stuff going on there, man. Yeah, this song's awesome. And I think that at the very end there on is it Fear you're saying?
Yeah.
Fear. Yeah. That's a really good example of exactly what we just spent like 40 minutes talking about with mouth shapes and everything like that. Very cool.
Yeah, man.
So that's the song. I don't know how long we've been going for because everything's covered up. But yeah, super cool. Love the highs, love the mids, love the lows. Anything else you want to point out about it, man? Any other things you want to call out or bring attention to that I might have missed?
No, not really. I mean, there will be more chances for us to totally geek out and nerd out about all this stuff. Like I could spend a whole day talking to you, but if I did,
hell yeah,
we wouldn't make money or take care of our families or any of that important stuff. So,
dude, I get one weekend day a month. Now I get a lot of very chill days, but as far as like days where I'm literally doing nothing work related, it's usually the first Saturday of the month, and I'm usually playing D&D, which the DSLR can't really see, but the tables are all still set up from Saturday. But yeah, dude, there's a lot we could talk about and a lot of cool things, but it's a great song. It's a super killer song. I really enjoy it. And I'm excited for the other stuff that y'all are releasing.
Hell yeah, man.
Hell yeah. Well, with that, I guess that kind of wraps us up. Where can people, if this is the first time that somebody on the channel has heard A Wake In Providence, what can they be looking forward to? What sort of things should they be anticipating? Where can they find y'all on social media? Probably everywhere. But go ahead and give yourself some plugs.
Yeah, if you're looking to stream us, you can find us on every major streaming platform. Just go ahead and type in our name. There is a space in between A and Wake. Most people will be like, "A Wake In Providence," and they'll look it up and be like, "It's not showing up. It's not showing up." And I'll be like, "There's a space." But no, yeah, we're on every major streaming platform. As far as like what you can look forward to from the album, it's just really, it's really different. That's what I really like about the album is it's not like the norm of what people are doing right now, and it's a pretty bold choice for us to go in this direction, but we believe in it, and so far people do too, which is great. Thank you, people. But yeah, we'll have that album coming out October 21st. I didn't forget it.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. And then hopefully we'll be playing a city near you. I know we got some plans coming, so hopefully that'll come to fruition. Nice.
Dope. Well, to everybody who watched the video, greatly appreciate you. Also, thank you, people. From me, thank you, people. Like, share, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Check us out on Patreon, all that stuff I have to say or my business partner gets mad. And with that, as always, many thanks, much love. I'm out.